Good morning from the lovely Pacific Northwest in Portland, Oregon, where I now live. If you don't know me, my name is Luminara Serdar of Autism Transformed, and what I wanted to talk about today is autism behaviors and the link between those behaviors and the underlying causes. And today I want to talk specifically about parasites and toxicity, not just in the gut, but throughout the whole body. So if you're joining, hello, and please, if you have a question, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love for you to ask it. I'd love to help. So I'll just start talking about a few things and then welcome any questions based on that material. So what I see in my clients and so many parents I've talked to about their behaviors, so I want to name some of those behaviors first. I see really, really high levels of anxiety, and that can look like different things. That can look like rigid behaviors, rigid timing, needing to take a specific route to school, or getting upset if that certain route isn't taken, or a certain way of doing things, having the shoes lined up just so at the door. So these are forms of anxiety. Also, sometimes anxiety is quite obvious by clinging or holding on to objects. So anxiety is one of the behaviors. Aggression, if kids are having tantrums and meltdowns or it just seems super angry or defiant. So we've got anxiety, we've got anger, we've got meltdowns, sometimes crying for no reason. You know, your child is very weepy and crying and parents don't know why. It's likely they're hurting inside. There's something, they're responding to something inside. So that cry is actually telling you something. It's just hard to figure out what. And lack of eye contact. I hear where kids don't want to be with the rest of the family or with other children or with siblings or with friends. They kind of self-isolate, go in their own world. Lack of, did I already say lack of eye contact? I think I did. And sometimes, words, just not being able to speak or not being able to communicate more than 1, 2, 3 word need sentences. So these are some of the behaviors I'm talking about. Oh, of course, picky eating, constipation, bloated gut, diarrhea. These are also signs that the body is toxic. So I know we call these collectively, whoever you are who has questions, you can ask them. I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit first, so you might want to wait to type them into the chat. So what I wanted to say is that there are underlying reasons for the autism behaviors. A lot of kids regress, sometimes after injections, sometimes after some trauma or some other toxic hit. I think it's like that analogy of the straws that break the camel's back. You have one extra straw and then regression, autism. Some kids go gradually into it, like they kind of lose their words and lose their communication, lose their eye contact. Usually there's a reason for that, and it's some kind of distress or a load of stressors in the body. And I feel toxins and parasites go hand in hand. Now, all kids with autism have 1, inflammation, and 2, gut issues. That can be obvious gut issues like constipation, diarrhea, really bloated bellies I've seen, or it could be not as obvious gut issues. Sometimes food sensitivities. Sometimes we really don't see those manifest, but they're there anyway. So that's the microbial balance in the gut. There's dysbiosis. And one of the reasons is, I'm sure most of your kids, your child probably has a few favorite foods. So that picky eating is a sign that there's gut dysbiosis and gut distress and likely inflammation. And those foods are either the easy foods for them to digest or the easy foods for the microbes to digest, the bad guys. And they're kind of ruling the show inside the gut. And what we want to do is create more of a balance with that dysbiosis. Now, we can have bad bacteria, bad yeast, good yeast. There's all kinds of microbes. It's not just bacteria and yeast, but there's also parasites. And I see parasites in the gut, like we all have them. If we have pets, if we're scooping kitty litter, if we're walking on the ground, it comes in our food sometimes. If you're eating sushi, if you're eating undercooked meat, even at restaurants or in our water supply. Cryptosporidium has been found in the water supply, which is a type of parasite. So these things we can just get exposed to, even in the US, yes, because we get things from other countries and we're just exposed all the time, and our immune systems are actually pretty low functioning, at least in autism. And so these parasites thrive. And what is their food in the gut? Their food, the reason they're there and that they thrive is because they love to eat toxic stuff. They like to eat bacteria. They like to eat yeast. If you have a Lyme infection, you or your child has a Lyme infection, often when you go on these rounds of antibiotics for 2 years, you're killing the Lyme that's around the body, but some of it goes inside the parasites and stays safe. It's like their safe zone, their safe house. And then when all the antibiotics are gone, there's like, they peek out and go, oh, coast is clear, we can go out and replicate again. And then you have the Lyme symptoms coming back. It's not just that, it's mold and all kinds of toxins. We have pesticides, we have plastics, we have heavy metals. There's research in the literature that shows that in fish, parasites found in fish have up to 2,000 times more the amount of heavy metal than that's found in the body of the fish. So these parasites actually sequester metals. They hold onto these. One, it's their food, and two, they're kind of doing us a favor. They're doing a good job for us, but they create their own problems. Parasites can create ammonia, which stops the bowels from moving, gives us constipation, and then they can create all kinds of nasty toxins that go into the brain and create these neurological issues that we see in our kids, which we see as behaviors, right? Anger, aggression, anxiety, lack of eye contact, these types of things. So I know we had some questions. Jojo, how do you counteract in a state that mandates vaccines? I'm not going to talk about vaccines today. I really want to keep it to parasites. So I don't get into the political stuff, so I'm not sure how you would do that, and I apologize. I don't have an answer for you. Paramba Jawa, I know these aren't your real names, these are your handles, but if you want to ask questions now, go ahead. And I'll just wait to see what your questions are, and thank you for being here. Let me see what else I want to say about parasites. There's all different kinds of parasites, and the one thing I've learned is that different people have different combinations, right? Every body is unique. Every single body superorganism of trillions of cells is unique. It depends on our genetics, our experience, our trauma, emotional stuff. And so we're going to have a different set of parasites and microbes, everyone. And there's a lot of different types of parasites. Okay, Jojo, I've used Para. Do you recommend that brand? I'm not sure Para is a brand. If it is, I don't know that brand for Parasite Cleanse. I'm not sure I recognize if it's just called Para. I don't know that brand specifically. What I use is a line called Cellcore, and you can get that through your practitioner only because the company itself doesn't want to support end users, so to speak. It doesn't want to support the clients. It wants it's a complicated process to do parasite cleansing, so they actually want you to work with a qualified practitioner who can answer your questions. Para-End, I don't know that one. Sorry, I haven't heard of that. If you want to tell me what the ingredients are, I can tell you. Most parasite cleanse type of products will have wormwood and black walnut hull and clove. These are common ones. There are a few other herbs in there. And the one I really love that scrubs the gut clean is Mimosa pudica seed. I know that, I think BioPure, Dr. Klinghart's, the company he's affiliated with, sells Mimosa pudica, and that's a type of grass. I don't think it's the seed type that he sells, but I don't know. You'd have to look on BioPure's website, and I think you have to order those through a practitioner as well. I'm not sure if you can, as the end client, can order them. And then Cellcore has one called Para One, and that's Mimosa pudica seed, and what that does is it scrubs the gut, the inside of the gut, so it takes biofilm off. And behind the biofilm, if you don't know what biofilm is, we have our gut lining, and then we have mucosal membrane inside, and then on top of the membrane we have a a layer, picture it like saran wrap, like plastic wrap, of biofilm. So if you leave your dishes out overnight and you see like a film on top, or pond scum or algae, that's a biofilm, and that's where microbes gather together and grow, grow off the substance. So there's microbes behind this biofilm, and they can be helpful microbes, but they can be some nasty ones too, and that's where parasites like to hang out, among other things. And so the mimosa pudica helps scrub that biofilm clean. Other things do that as well. All right, question. I have a daughter who's 6, nonverbal. When I use the word no to her, she starts screaming, and she will tap me like she hits me and gets very upset. Can you suggest some tricks how to calm her? Well, I mean, that's a tough one, because she's telling you something. Her screaming is giving you an indication, right? It could be a habit that she's built up to say no. It could be that developmentally, she's kind of in those terrible twos where she's in the no phase. I don't know, because I don't know your child. I don't know where she is. But, it's certainly, I would say she would need some kind of cleaning out. I don't know what her gut situation is like. If she's not pooping every day, that's a detriment. What I find is if we are not pooping every single day, the toxins that get filtered through the liver and get pushed into the colon just sit there, and then they get reabsorbed in our body circulation, and they can go right back to the brain, and they can create all kinds of problems. So when I start my clients out, that's the first thing we work on, is getting people pooping every day. Your child has to poop every single day. It has to be a nice formed log, and that gets the waste and toxins out of the body. But even better than that, with the pooping, is to use a binder. So a binder is like a sponge that grabs onto the toxins. So even if the poop sits there as it's, accumulating, the toxins aren't going to get recirculated. So binders are super important. And because of the toxins we get in our food, air, and water, on our skin, and they're everywhere, I really feel we have to live a detox lifestyle. We have to I'm committed to always taking binders for the rest of my life. And I love the ones from Cellcore, but there are other good ones like GI Detox is really good from Biocidin. That's a really great all-around one. CitraCleanse is a really good one. I think that's what it's called. It's like citrus pectin. That's really great for heavy metals, and it doesn't just stay in the gut. And activated charcoal is a great overall toxin grabber, but it's constipating. So if your child is constipated, that's not the one you want to use. All right. Let's see. All right. Welcome to everyone joining. I'm seeing if there's any other questions. I'll have to look up, by the way, Jojo, I'll have to look up Para-End. There are a lot of good anti-parasitic formulas out there. And, I think Hulda Clark is a great one to read, Hulda Clark. She was one of the original people to bring parasites to the front. So is Anne Louise Gittleman. She's really great. I think she has a book called Guess Who Came to Dinner? It's about parasites. So you can learn more about them. Basically, my mentors say, how can you tell if you have parasites? You take your 2 fingers, so go ahead and do this with me. Take your 2 fingers, put it here on your neck. If you feel a pulse, you have parasites. It's a little bit of a joke, but basically we all have parasites is the point. And how out of control are they? I see parasites like, those big black garbage bags you put all your household garbage or your leaves or whatever in. That's a parasite in the gut. And so it's got all this trash and toxins and other microbes in it. And what we want to do when we're parasite cleansing is kind of take out the trash as a whole and not rip it open and create a little bit of a mess in there. So we always try and get the parasites out whole as much as we can. But what we see when the parasites come out, like I had a client the other day who, probably a couple weeks ago, who was very agitated, 12-year-old boy, very agitated and upset and doing behaviors at school. And then when he pooped and his mom saw the parasites come out, he was just calm as can be. He eliminated whatever was agitating him. So don't underestimate what's in the gut and what can be agitating our kids. Yes, I'm going to save this video. I'll save it as a live. Okay, Jojo, I've tried activated charcoal, but not too easy for my daughter to swallow, especially when she sees the dark water. Yeah, here's a tip for that. You can hide it in grape juice. Grape juice is already really dark, and she probably can't tell the difference. But activated charcoal doesn't really dissolve in water. And activated charcoal, what that means is it's burned wood. It can be bamboo, it could be some other wood, but it's burned up, meaning when you have a fire that burns wood, what's happening? All the energy is being, it's consumed. The fire consumes it, and so all the energy is out of the wood. And so it's activated charcoal is a little bit of a misnomer. It's kind of deadened wood. The binders I like to use are more alive and more, they're based on fulvic and humic acids, and they really grab things. So that's another good binder you can try, is anything fulvic and humic acid based, but you don't always know the quality of it. So you have to really vet the company, and there's so many fulvic acids out there, so it's a kind of a tough one. Let's see, any other questions? Any tips to swallow pills? Yeah, well, I mean, so if you want her to swallow a pill, you can hide it in an applesauce or a goopy thing that it slides right down. You can also start with you can get very tiny capsules online, and they're size 5. So our normal capsules that we have are like 0 or 0. Those are typically what we see supplements come in, and there's different sizes. So it goes 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 being the smallest, and 0, 0 being the biggest. And you can take the smallest one and transfer. I mean, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you can transfer the contents into the smaller pill. Now you can get her to start wanting to swallow pills. Doesn't work with everybody, because some people have that gag reflex. But one of my clients started with Tic Tacs or cake sprinkles. I don't recommend the sweet stuff, but raisins or little currants, just little things that they're probably swallowing whole anyway. You know, if you see food in their poop, they're swallowing their food whole, so you know they can swallow a capsule. So that's how I would start it off. Start with something smaller, go to bigger, congratulate her, say, what a big girl. Oh my gosh, look at how what you're doing, really play it up and celebrate. And then eventually she might swallow the capsules, or the bigger ones too. All right, hope that helped. What do you think I can do regarding detox for my son? He gets a lot of harsh die-off reactions whenever I start detoxing him, especially heavy metal detox. He starts strange acts like trying to bite. Yeah, and that is pretty normal if you don't detox in the right order. Some kids are just too sensitive, and you're moving metals too fast out of the brain, and what happens is they are not leaving the brain. They're just changing around, changing place, changing address. And so what I've discovered, the key that most practitioners miss, that I feel, because I've asked, is drainage. So drainage is where your lymphatic system is open, your liver's open, your kidneys open, all the organs that actually process our toxins. And if you think about the lymphatic channels, especially from the brain, you have lymphatic channels, big lymph channels in your neck. You have a whole lymphatic system around in your brain that you want it to drain. So if you're clogged up here in the neck, if you're clogged up here above the collarbones, or if you're clogged here in the chest, so most of the body's toxins come here into the upper left chest, and then they drain into the heart, and then they go to the liver. So if any of those channels are blocked, you're going to get the detox reactions. Also, some people you have to go very slow, and they're very sensitive. So we have ways to really do that slowly and in the right order. And that's the key, because I've heard from parents like you who have had, whose kids have had detox reactions, and then they're afraid to detox anymore. And I get it, I don't want that to happen either. So we really do it slow, and we do it in the right order. All right. And then there's another question. What do you think I can do? Oh, that's the same one. So I hope that helped. I see quick positive changes whenever I try, but I always have to stop the detox because of the reactions. So either, I don't know what you're using to detox, but the toxins aren't getting bound up. So if you're using like IV chelation for mercury, that can drop off little pieces of mercury throughout the body. It's not a strong bond. It doesn't hold it. I'm not sure what you're using. For mercury, the CitraCleanse is supposed to help with a lot. I haven't used that much, but CitraCleanse. And then I use one from Cellcore for heavy metals. I use a couple things from them for heavy metals. So you just have to go really slow. So I know we all want to see these changes in our kids. You do see positive changes, and then you see the reaction. So you want to make sure your child is pooping every day. You want to make sure it's actually going out of the body. You want to make sure things are bound. If you're loosening, if you're having an agent that like detaches things from the cells in the brain and in the body, and then you don't have a compound to capture it, that could be an issue too. That could be why you're having detox reactions. I tried PBX zeolite. So, and it could be, I don't know if you have any diagnostic testing. It's really good to see tests to see what is actually in my child. So some of the zeolites I don't think they drop off metals, but they can. I think almost anything can, unless it's a really strong covalent bond and it's really grabbing it, and it will usher it all the way out of the body. So I think that's not enough binder for your child. That's what I think. So you probably need to try something else and make sure the drainage is open. Like, I think that's a key. I see kids are kind of stuffed up in all our call coming in. Okay. Stuffed up in what's called the extracellular matrix. This is the space in between our cells. So we have fascia and connective tissue that connects our bones and our muscles and it makes our ligaments and joints. And this material in the fascia, in this extracellular matrix, it's a matrix. It's like fibers, and it's very sticky, and it can hold the toxins. So even if you're trying to get them out, we just have to get this open before we can start moving a lot of toxins out. Okay, same with PBX, but I think so many people are sponsored for financial gain. Yeah, I saw no results with PBX. Oh, okay. So so one mom saying I see positive results and another mom saying I saw no results. So that could be because whatever the PBX is targeting isn't in your child's body. So it's in I am Folaranmi. Sorry, I might be mispronouncing your handle. That stuff might be in your child, and that compound works really well, but for JoJo, that stuff might not be in your child, and it's not going to work. And this is the kind of danger in seeing supplements on the internet and saying, oh, this helped my child, I'm going to try it. It depends on what's in there and what's the underlying issue, right? So it's not always the same compound won't work for the same child. That's why we do testing, and that's why we figure out what's in there. Or we do a whole process, which is what I love to do, is a whole process starting from the bottom up to open up the drainage and open up the elimination channels. And then after that, we can start detoxing. So there's an order to things, If things aren't working, you have to go back and go, am I doing this in the right order? Is this the right compound? And really it might take working with someone who knows their stuff to help you figure that out. You're laughing at how I pronounce your name. I see that. Alrighty. So I just want to conclude by saying, parasites can be gotten from anywhere. And if there's a nice, rich, toxic environment in the gut, they will thrive and create havoc in the body. Yes, they're doing a service by sequestering those toxins, and they're creating their own problems. There's tapeworms, pinworms. There's one called Ascaris lumbricoides, which is a helminth or a roundworm. And there's also single-celled ones like the Giardia and toxoplasmosis that you get from the kitty litter. And let's see what I covered. Hookworm, I don't think I said. And there's ropeworm. And I've seen big, long things coming out of people and even out of kids. So I would just get your brain thinking, might my child have parasites? Oh, and how can you tell? How can you tell you have parasites? full moon behaviors, new moon behaviors. So watch your child's cycle. If they cycle in and out of behaviors, are they worse at the full moon? What you'll probably see is if your child has parasites, well, you may see these behaviors. They're not always the symptoms of parasites, but they're sometimes. Worst behaviors at the full moon, inability to sleep during the full moon, like they're up all night or for hours in the night, can't settle down at night to sleep. These are parasites become active at night, so they're going to amp up their behaviors at their feeding and everything at night. So maybe your child's hyper before going to bed, just can't fall asleep, takes 2 hours to fall asleep, or is up for 3 or 4 hours in the night. And then of course worst behaviors, if your child stims or whether it's a verbal or a motor stim, or they have aggression or whatever, those will be worse at the full moon. Okay, what can you do to open the channels, and can we use probiotics while doing parasite cleanse? You can use probiotics. I actually recommend that, but you want to find the right one for your child, because I've done enough, gut tests to know that not everyone has the same gut dysbiosis, the microbes that create the dysbiosis. Almost everyone I've seen has inflammation. Everyone I've seen has low immune function. But, and these are kids with autism, but you want to make sure you have the right probiotics. So that's where a good gut test comes in handy. And you can do that with a parasite cleanse. I do. But opening the channels, it's way more than I can go into here. It's a systematic opening from the bottom up. So think about the body organs. There's the colon. You want to open that up, right? You want flow. If that's not flowing, you don't want to open the rest of the organs, because you're going to have a block somewhere. The next one, you want to open the liver and make sure the liver's functioning well. So there's herbs that support that, and there's bile support. The bile has to be flowing, and in most of our kids, the bile is not flowing. If your child has acid reflux or the vomiting or throws up, it's likely the bile in the gallbladder is not moving, and so you need something to help with that. And then after that, you need to work with the lymphatic channels. So there are herbs that address each of these. And after the lymphatic channel, what we ultimately want is to get the toxins out of the brain, right? We want them to drain all the way through. And so we want these channels open. There's various massages you can do, lymph massages, having your child jump on a trampoline. Most of the kids do that. Parents I talk to, their kids love jumping. Movement, not sitting still and being on an iPad all day, but actually getting out in nature and moving. All these help. But I like the targeted herbs because I see the effect they have on kids, and I see the changes. Jojo says, my daughter grinds her teeth. Is that it? Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's a sign of parasites as well, but it can be a sign of other things. So grinding the teeth. Also wanting to, it's called pica, wanting to eat dirt, sand, eat out of the garbage, eat in weird things, sometimes poop smearing. They take their own poop out of their diaper and eat it or smear it. That's a parasite sign. And that's, more severely autistic kids. But it's a sign. So sometimes skin rashes or itches or little like round rash can be like some type of worm. I've seen it either coming out of people or just kind of hanging on there, or like I had a client with a boil on her bottom, and we were working on getting rid of that thing because it obviously wanted to go out through the skin, or maybe it came in through the skin. And so I think also a helpful process in this, a helpful type of thing you can do is sauna. So if your child's really small, like someone said 6 years old, I would just put them in a sauna for 3 minutes to start, and then 5 minutes. And because what we want to do in the sauna is get sweating to happen so that we can detox through the skin. It's a huge organ. Why not detox there, right? If the toxins are sitting in all over the body. So that's another helpful thing you can do. And let's see. All right. I don't think we have any more questions, and I think I've covered parasites and toxins. And I think most of our kiddos have different types of heavy metals. I've seen aluminum off the charts. I've seen uranium. I've seen cesium. I've seen thallium. I've seen tellurium. I've seen things like how do these kids get this? It must be through our food and water. And I just read something about infant formula having heavy metals in it. So I don't see high levels of lead as much. I see high levels of mercury, high levels of arsenic. So watch out for rice. Wash your rice, because that can have arsenic on the outside because of the pesticides that have been used on that land. And that's very well known by now. So, so I think getting a heavy metal test can give you some good information. And I think a lot of our kids have metals, and that's why the microbes, the yeast loves mercury, the parasites love aluminum and other things. So I think investigation, to ask the questions and recognize what's going on is the first step. And then we need to reduce our exposures. And then after that, we need to restore the body, and that's a process. It's not an overnight journey. You don't just take a pill to do it. It's really a marathon and not a sprint. And that's not just for autism. That's for anyone who has chronic illness. That's for mold illness. That's for Lyme illness. That's for any autoimmune thing, celiac disease, irritable bowel. It is not an overnight for any of those things, because we have to restore balance to the entire body. How to detox after root canal. Well, shaboom. Yeah. I'm assuming this is a root canal for yourself, and I hope your dentist used ozone therapy. So I would find a biological dentist, first of all, and second of all, I would, there's an ozone product you can use, but I'm not sure if it's going to get down into the root. So when dentists use ozone, I think they have it come through a little tube and they get it down in the crevices where it needs to be. And what ozone will do is kill the microbes, the anaerobic microbes. Anaerobic means they don't want oxygen. So if you put ozone, which is O3, you put a lot of oxygen in there, they'll die. And unfortunately, root canals are open, the tooth is open to the environment for the rest of your life. So I'm not sure which toxins you mean from detoxing from a root canal, but I would think infectious agents, anaerobic microbes. Oh, and I wanted to tell you too, there is a ozonated olive oil that you can get. It's from Pure O3. It's PURO and the number 3. I'm pretty sure it's pureo3.com or shoppureo3.com. And you get a little, like a little cosmetic little container of, it looks like a facial cream jar, and it has ozonated olive oil, and then you can rub that on the gums and rub it around the tooth. I did that for a while, and those only last for like a year. It eventually kind of goes bad because it's an oil, it gets oxidized. So keep that in mind. My son went through it at 4, his root canal. Hopefully it was his baby tooth, and his adult tooth will grow out. Have you seen progress with older kids on the spectrum? Absolutely. I think they have more neural networks set up, more habits in their brain, but once we take toxins out of the brain and that inflammation goes down, they can build new neural networks, and they can still learn, they can still progress. If someone's at, a developmental age of 2, they can go to 3, 4, 5, 6. I've seen a lot of progress. I'm not sure how old your child is. I've worked with someone as old as 40, and who is severely autistic, and I've worked with a lot of people in the 20-ish year old range, and I have one now who's late 20s, early, I think he just turned 30. I've been working with him for a while, and we've seen a lot of progress with him. So all of this is possible, and I just want to say there's hope, and I think you guys, thank you for being here, because you're open-minded to hearing about alternative things, not just what your medical doctor would tell you, because the medical doctors are going to tell you, probably, they'll say there's no such thing as parasites, or we don't have them in the US. So it's a very real thing, and there are many, many practitioners who are finding them, and there's lots of evidence in the scientific literature. And so just another aspect to think about. Now, the main thing, I want the gears in your mind to be turning and saying, my child has autism, these are the behaviors. what's going on inside the body that's creating the behaviors, and how do we restore that balance. So it's imbalances in the body, because I've seen kids talk, I've seen kids' anxiety go down, I've seen kids interact more with the family. I've seen kids have more energy. I've seen kids have a growth spurt of 3 inches in a summer. You know, when the body is functioning well, we have this phase of growth. When it's not functioning well, we're just barely surviving. So I want to leave you with the idea of hope, that there's things you can do, and hopefully I've given you some good suggestions to go out and try. And you know, I'm open if you want to work with me as well. So hey, Porvi. All right, everyone, this will be a reel afterwards, so you'll get the recording. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.